It's time to make a deal with the devil and cheat out 27 Dawn worth of cards for 4 resources. Hello and welcome to the table, and today I'm talking about a very early deck list, because the set isn't even out in English, for OP13 Emu, and this 5k life 4 life leader, well 5k power 4 life leader, it's a very interesting looking deck, and I'm really looking forward to playing Emu when they come out, because, I mean, look at it. You get to cheat out 27 Dawn worth of cards for 4 resources. That's insane to me. But let's talk about what Emu does. So, under the rules of the game, you can only have 1 cost events in your deck. Like, if you're going to have any events in your deck, you can't play anything that costs more than 1 single resource in your deck. So you can't have something like a finger pistol in your deck or something like that. So that kind of stinks, but, you have some decent 1-cost events to make up for that. And on top of that, even though you have a 4-life downside as a monocolor black leader, and you can only play 1-cost events if you're going to play any events, you do get the upside of getting to, at the start of the game, play up to 1 Mary Joie type stage from your deck. And that is really good. And we'll get to what that stage that you're going to be playing out a vast majority of the time is here in a second. But on top of that, you also get an activate main once per turn that says you can trash one of your Celestial Dragon type cards or a card from your hand to then draw a card. So if you got a little measly little Saint Charleria that just, you played out to search, and it's just sitting there, not doing anything, you can just use Emu, get rid of her, and boom, draw a card. And I mean, it's just like, that's a pretty feels-good thing. And you can do this every turn. And it's a black deck, so obviously you want cards in your trash, but you really want cards in your trash in this deck, because of a lot of different things, but one of those things being the stage, that you will be searching out with Emu at the very start of the game, thanks to Emu's own effects. A 7-cost stage called the Empty Throne, which says on your turn, if you have 19 or more cards in your trash, your leader gets plus 1,000 power. That's pretty good, because, 6k leader is nothing to scoff at. And, as an activate main, you may rest this stage and 3 your Dawn cards to play up to 1 black 5 Elders type card with a cost less than or equal to the total number of Dawn on your field from your hand. So, on turn 5, if you went second, if you have a 10-cost 5 Elders type card that you want to play, you can rest 3 your Dawn in this stage, and then boom, you get to play it for only 3 Dawn. That is pretty insane. But anyways, besides the Empty Throne, this deck has a lot of stuff going for it. The early game being one of those things, like the Saint Charleria that I've already talked about a little bit. A great card to trash with Emu's own effects, but it's a 1-cost, 0-power, 1k counter character that has an on-play of getting a look at the top 3 of your deck, reveal a Celestial Dragons type card from your hand other than this card, add it to your hand, and trash the rest. And a card from your hand. Which is kind of unfortunate, but you basically get to have 3 cards in your trash for 1 resource, and, you kind of only go down 1 card in hand, because, you're playing this, you are trashing a card from your hand, but you're getting a card from the top 3 into your hand. So, that stinks. But you're not losing any cards in hand if you then use Emu's effect to then just get rid of Saint Charleria. And then that's pretty sweet. Then you got 4 cards in your trash, and that's pretty powerful. But on top of that, in the early game, as far as searchers go, you also want to play the 5 Elders are at your service. A 1-cost event that, as a main, you can look at the top 3 of your deck, reveal up to 1 Celestial Dragons type card other than this card, add it to your hand, and trash the rest, and it has a trigger of activating its main effect. So it's the same thing as the Saint Charleria, but it's a little bit worse because you can't counter, And, it in and of itself cannot then be trashed to then get more cards into the trash to make something like Empty Throne really good. Like, really, really good. But it's still good, don't get me wrong. It's still a really good card, and I will take having 8 Searchers in the set that this leader comes out in. I mean, what the heck? Why are we starting to do this now? I mean, I'm not complaining, but still, like, it's insane to me. But then, there's also St. Charlos, the most punchable character in all of One Piece. I mean, look at that face. You want to punch it so hard, I can tell. But this 2-cost 0 power 1k counter character says, as blocker, but it says on play, trash the top card of your deck. So it's putting cards into your trash, and it's a petty little blocker. She's like, hey, you're coming at me with a character? No. I'm blocking it. What the heck? No. Why would I? You don't get to attack. So yeah, St. Charlos is in the deck for a little bit of extra defense, on top of a couple of other cards, a couple of other defensive tools. Besides, blockers, there are a couple of other blockers and some pretty good cards in the deck too, that we'll get to when we get to the 5 Elders portion of the deck. But first off, I gotta talk about Never Existed. This card here is a 1-cost event that as a main, you may rest one of your Dawn cards, and if your leader is Emu, you K up to one of your opponent's stages with a cost of 7. So in the mirror match, Empty Throne is kind of useless, but we'll get to why that doesn't really matter here in a sec. But then as a counter, if your leader is Emu, up to one of your leader or characters gains plus 4,000 power for this battle. That's really good. A 1-cost 4k counter is an absurd rate. I mean, look at Gum Gum Giant. That card's pretty dumb. And this card is basically the Emu version of that card. And it's pretty good, not gonna lie. But you don't have to minus any Dawn. There's no drawbacks to this card. There's just nothing but ups. Granted, Gum Gum Giant, that can be the same case depending on the deck that you're playing in. But whatever. Then there's also, as another 2K, well, as a 2K, this is the first 2K, of many in this deck. There's 12, but whatever. Anyways, Saint Miosgard, one of the best, if not the best, Celestial Dragon that has ever existed. And the only reason I say that is, there's Corazon. And honestly, Rosinante, is probably a little bit better than this guy, but this guy's pretty respectable too. You know what? Rosinante is the best. This guy's second best. I mean, this was an official Celestial Dragon. Rosinante was kind of, but he left. Well, his father made him leave. But anyways, St. Miosgard is a 2-cost 0 power 2k counter character that on play, if you have 3 or less life cards in your hand, you play up to 1 Mary Joie type stage card with a cost of 1 from your trash. So, Never Existed blows up a stage with a cost of 7. This card can get a stage with a cost of 1 from your trash, and then it'll allow you to play it. So what's this stage? What's this backup stage that can allow you to still kind of do the thing that the deck wants to do, even in an Emu mirror match? This St. Miosgard can get right back. Mary Joie, a 1-cost stage that says during your turn, the cost of playing Celestial Dragon type characters with a cost of 2 or more from your hand will be reduced by 1. Which is really good, honestly, and sometimes can be even better than Empty Throne. Sometimes. If you want to, chain a couple of the Celestial Dragons, it's a little bit easier to do it with this Mary Joie than with the Empty Throne. But with the Empty Throne, you can get a 1k bump on your leader, which is really good. But yeah, they're both good in a sense, but Mary Joie, when you're playing against another Emu deck, is really good. Especially considering that you can just play the Empty Throne, have the opponent, Emu, have to waste a Never Existed, and then just St. Miosgard, that Mary Joie from your trash, right back onto the board, and you can still do your 5 Elders Bowl crappery right on schedule. But then the last 2k of the deck that I have to talk about here is Sabo, a 6-cost 6k 2k power character that I'm going to be calling from here on the Black Sanji. This card is stupid. If you have never played against the purple deck, which I don't believe you, but anyways, you've probably seen at some point a Sanji that costs 6 resources, has 6k power, has a 2k counter, and is a blocker, like this Sabo. But it can be, reduced in cost by some kind of like Dawn kind of restrictions. Like, oh, if you only have so many Dawn, like less than your opponent or something like that, then you get to play Sanji for 3 less. Sabo is the black version of that. And in my opinion, even better, which kind of sucks because this guy's new and it's in a premium booster set and it's probably going to be pretty expensive compared to that Sanji, and I really want this guy in this deck when I actually build this deck. So that sucks. But anyways, this 6 cost, 6k power, 2k counter blocker says if you have 15 or more cards in your trash, another reason why you want to get as many cards in your trash as possible, this card costs 3 less to play. A 3 cost, 6k blocker that counters for 2 is broken. Absolutely freaking broken. And it's Sabo on top of that. A really sick character. And, it has all that added on top of it. So that's pretty sweet. But then, getting to the main portion of the deck, the most interesting portion of the deck, we have the 5 Elders. And oh, baby. This 10 cost 12k power character, it does a bit. As an activate main, if your leader is Emu, you may rest one of your Dawn and trash a card from your hand. So if you use Empty Throne, resting through your Dawn, and the stage, you can play this out on your turn 5, your 10 Dawn turn, for only 3 resources. But then, you can then immediately use this, and then trash a card, rest another Dawn, to then get an effect of trashing all your characters. Then, play up to 5 Elders type characters with different names with 5k power from your trash. Insta-board state. And this also works with Mary Joie, if you have that out as a stage 2, because you play this for 9 resources instead of only 3. But then you can then just immediately rest a Dawn, and then boom, bada bang, you get to play 5 characters for free. So that's pretty sweet too. So Empty Throne obviously is the better card in this situation, but Mary Joie, can also do a decent bit of work. But yeah, 5 Elders, really freaking good. And what are these 5k power 5 Elders that you are going to be getting back? Well, one of them, the first of which, is St. J. Garcia Saturn, a 4-cost 5k 1k power character that reads, if you have 7 or more Dawn or 7 or more cards in your trash, this character cannot be removed from field by your opponent's effects. All of the 5 Elders have this ability, and it is a pretty stupid ability. Because, having cards in the trash is a big part of the deck. Getting these in the trash and then getting to replay them from said trash with 5 Elders, big part of the game plan. But also, it makes these cards really hard to get rid of. But on top of that, because, a 4-cost 5k, 1k power that's a little bit harder to get rid of isn't the best, but you do get an on-play of getting a look at the top 5 of your deck, revealing a 5 Elders type card and adding it to your hand, and you get to put the rest back on the bottom in any order. I think it's a little bit worse than, just getting a look at the top 3 and then you get to trash the other cards you don't get, in my opinion, because, this would be a much better card. It's still a really good card, don't get me wrong, but, it would be a little bit better in some senses, in my opinion. Technically, you're not running out of cards in your deck as quickly, but, I don't think that's too big of an issue unless you are playing an Emu Mirror Match, which I can only see the horrors of how that's going to go out. But anyways, then there's also Saint Topman Warkiri, a 4-cost 5k, 1k power character that has the same line. If you have 7 more cards in your trash, it's harder to remove. But it also gets blocker, and it has an on-KO of drawing a card. So it's a little bit of a blocker. It's a bigger blocker than something like St. Charlos, so that's pretty sweet. And when it does die, whether it is to it just blocking or the opponent finding a way to get rid of it, you do get to at least draw a card. And that is pretty good, in my opinion. But then there is Saint Ethan Baron V. Nosjuro. And this guy is actually really good. It's a 6 cost 5k, 1k power character, which is not a great rate at all. But if you have some more cards in your trash, hard to remove, but it also gets Rush, which is really good. Because when attacking, I mean, it's already good because, hey, it gets Rush. It can attack right away. But also, when it is attacking, if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2k power during this turn. So it makes it a little bit easier to, remove an opposing threat that the opponent might have. It makes it easier to get rid of, and getting a 2k deduction on one of your opponent's things that you're swinging into is really solid. Honestly, like, that can turn something really hard to get rid of into a very sizable, thing to kill. I mean, all of a sudden, you could get something like a 7k blocker or something like that. Or let's say they have a Katakuri blocker out there that with 8k power, and it's a blocker, and it's rested for some reason. Well, all of a sudden, or even if it's unrested, you can just shrink it by 2k power, and all of a sudden, it's 6k now. And that can be pretty good for you, based on a card that I'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, it allows you to get rid of your opponent's threats a lot more easily, and I think that makes this card pretty good. I mean, the fact that it has Rush, it is like a good threat, is fine in and of itself, but the fact that it can also make it a little bit easier to clear your opponent's board is also very helpful. And speaking of making it easier to clear your opponent's board, let's talk about St. Marcus Mars, which is very similar to Top Man Valkyrie. It can get blocker, it can be hard to remove. It's a 6 cost 5k, 1k counter, which is a little bit worse than St. Top Man Valkyrie, but to make up for that kind of downside, you do get an outplay of getting a trash card from your hand. And if you do that, you get to KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a base cost of 5 or less. And that is really stupid because, you get to kill a thing, and this is a blocker. So it basically removes one of your opponent's threats from battle if you can keep it around at least. Or even if it doesn't stick around, you can just, chump a threat coming at you. And yeah, it's pretty good. This St. Marcus Mars, it's pretty good. It can do a decent amount of work. But then lastly, there is St. Shepherd Jew Peter, the last 2k of the deck, and a really stupid card. One of the most stupid cards in the deck. This 7 cost 5k character does have a 2k counter, so that's decent. Because, you're basically never going to be playing this guy without cheating him out, because, oh my gosh, 7 resources is a little bit of a big number. But it's hard to remove because of the whole, if you have 7 or more cards in your trash, can't be removed by opponent's effects. It's got that line of text. But on top of that, it has a very, very crucial line that makes your 5 Elders, when they do all come out together, thanks to the 5 Elders character, really terrifying. And that is an on your turn effect. If you have 10 or more cards in your trash, your 5 Elder type characters' base power becomes 7. That's dumb. And I kind of wish it was forever, but it would probably make the deck too busted. So I get it. But then you could shrink this guy to a 1k, and you couldn't give the deck too many 2k counters, but maybe that's just me, but whatever. Saint Shepherd Jew Peter here is really good because it makes something like Saint Ethan Baron Venus Juro versus something like a Katakuri way better for you. It can make all of your actual, attacking threats way scarier because, 7s are a lot more annoying than 5s. Not gonna lie. But yeah, overall, Saint Shepherd Jew Peter is one of the best cards in the deck because it can counter for 2, or it could just be a way to make all your dudes a 7, at some point in the game. But yeah, that's the deck, and it's a pretty good deck. I think it's going to be really fun to play when OP13 does come out. And besides the Sabo, I think this deck's going to be incredibly cheap. So if you want to have a more budget version of the deck, honestly, I would just cut the Sabos or replace Sabo with the, what's it called? I can't remember the name of the card off the top of my head. But, the world's equilibrium cannot be maintained forever. Basically a one-cost 3k counter event. That card can do a lot of the same work as Sabo. I mean, for the fact that it can counter. It's not nearly as good of a card because you do have to have a resource in order for it to be able to counter, and it can't be, an actual blocking threat if you need it to be. So that kind of stinks. But, besides that, when this deck is actually available to play here in, English, I think it'll be really fun and really cheap and inexpensive. But with all that aside, hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It's completely free, you won't regret it. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and enjoy.